Did you know that redwood bark doesn't burn? If the fire is big enough in this forest type, the inside of these giants will burn instead. Hello, buenos dias y bonjour. My name is Dave, and I will be your guide today in this adventure into redwood ecology. As we walk through these Muir Woods, named for the famous naturalist John Muir, we will discuss how this forest came to be, some of the local critters that live in the area, and then be taking a trip back in time where we will look at a core slice from one of the trees from this forest. During the presentation, we will be going on a short nature hike where I will show you examples of what I discussed today and answer any questions. Let us begin our adventure as we start walking into the forest by discussing some of the information about these redwoods. To start, for instance, what are they? Redwoods, in fact, are some of the world's largest as well as some of the oldest living trees. There are presently 3 known forms. Can any of you name them? Yes, the giant sequoia, kind of the surprising one. Also, there is the coastal redwood and the dawn redwood. Here in Muir Woods, we will see an example of an old-growth coastal redwood forest, which I will be talking about today. These coastal redwoods can grow up to 375 feet tall and over 20 feet in diameter, if you can't tell. That's as tall as a 37-story building and over 20 feet in diameter. The name redwood comes from the core wood of these trees underneath the bark, which is known for its dark red hue. The wood from these trees is special, as it has a resistance to fire, insects, and rotting, which made it popular for its use in the construction of houses, along with several less known uses, such as in car batteries in the early 20th century, due to its resistance to the corrosive acids used in batteries. These trees are evergreens, having leaves on them year-round. The lush green forest you see around you has been like this unchanged for millennia. But how did it get here? Please follow me and let's continue our journey. This forest has its beginnings ages ago, before recorded history, actually. However, every tree must begin as a sapling. Redwoods have 2 ways of making new trees, which is one of the ways how they have survived so long in this region. Can any of you guess what one of them might be? Yes, as many of you guessed, the common method is through the use of seeds. Please pass around these pine cones. Which ones do you think came from the redwoods? You might be surprised at the answer. It's actually this very small one that grows into the largest of these trees. However, actually, only 20% of these trees came from these pine cones. The rest came from a special process called cloning, in which these trees, when the conditions are right, sprout saplings either from themselves or from their roots. These saplings can grow into genetically identical, although physically different trees as their parents. Mature redwoods, on average, can be 500 to 800 years old, which means that many of these trees were just saplings when Columbus first came to America. When we go into the forest, there are 2 common examples that we will see. The first one is called a fairy ring, which you can see over there. Can any of you notice anything strange about it? Yes. Multiple saplings have grown in a ring out of the root structure around the parent tree. The other one that we can see over there is called a tree line, where this tree has fallen and many saplings have sprouted up from it. These are wonderful examples of both of these methods of cloning. However, not all of these saplings will survive to grow into the monstrosities we see here today. To reach maturity, these trees must survive centuries of uncertainty when pitted against their environment. To protect these trees over the changes through the centuries, the bark and roots must be very strong. On these large ones, the bark can be over a foot thick, and the roots can spread out over 100 feet from the base of the tree. The roots do remain shallow, though, seldom going deeper than 15 feet, and have the ability to adjust with the rising or falling of soil levels. In such a changing environment, there have been cases where the trees have gained or lost to 30 feet above sea level during their lifespan, so these large root systems help protect them and support them. Up above us, in the canopy, another world exists as well. Dead trees, such as that one over there, that have not fallen over are known as snags and are made into a home for the special spotted owl and for ospreys, where from the jagged tops they can survey their surroundings for their prey. The owls are asleep. It is the middle of the day. I know, guys, but we'll keep our eyes open for any ospreys out today. Flying squirrels, bats, and stellar jays, as well as many other animals, live in the canopy of this forest. Some of these animals will never touch the physical ground during their entire lives. Imagine living in a city of skyscrapers, never touching the ground and using walkways from one to the other, never having to set foot on the natural earth. It seems crazy, but that's how some of these animals spend their entire lives living. When a tree does fall, however, it becomes a bustling community for the understory animals. Small animals, such as the Sonoma chipmunk, this cute little guy, and the western gray squirrel, oh, and there's one of them right over there, take up residence here, along with a plethora of other small insects, fungi, plants, and animals. These logs become known as nurse logs, and they are a vital nursery to this forest. They can take up to 500 years to break down, and there has been many a time where somebody has been drilling a well in this area, only to run into a buried redwood or six. Now that we know a little bit more about the world of this redwood forest, let us step back in time. Look at this giant core slice. I know it's taller than me. Millions of years ago, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, North America was covered in these redwood forests, whose direct distant descendants you can see here today. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the climate began to change, causing such behemoths to recede into the limited range where redwoods now grow, from southern Oregon down to Monterey. Part of the reason for that is, if you consider the size of these guys, it's hard for them to get water just from the ground. These trees actually use water from the mist and fog we see here every day in the San Francisco area to keep them alive. Generations have came and went since then, leaving the trees we see here today. If you look at this core slice of this tree, over 15 feet in diameter, you can see rings on it, each representing a year in the life of this tree. As you can see marked on the tree core, there are many dates marked on it. Here we have the start of the Common Era, 0 CE, the fall of Rome in 476, the Crusades from the 10th century all the way into the 1300s. In 1492, can anyone guess what happened there? Yes, Columbus did come to the Americas. Here we have 1776, where the Declaration of Independence was signed. And even shortly before this tree died and was felled, 1969, when the man first landed on the moon. These trees have survived countless wars, along with countless feats that men once considered impossible and then became realized. The unique life cycle of these trees, along with the many plants and animals that depend upon this forest and its grand history, are something to be admired. I hope that this presentation has brought forth a new respect for these trees, as they are silent watchers of our world. The majesty of these trees is something I hope you can all learn to respect for and help care for. Thank you for joining me on this nature walk, and enjoy the rest of your time in this park.